What up? We are live on Facebook, Dubtown Bullies, and also on YouTube at Dubtown Bullies. So, y'all can hop on YouTube if you want, and hop on Facebook if you want. Check it out. Let me check it out here on Facebook. Make sure things are jiving. Make sure we're actually live here. And there we are. So we're live. I'm still trying to figure this stuff out, so y'all bear with me. I don't see any eyeballs yet, so see some eyeballs. Maybe we'll see some eyeballs in a minute. I sent everybody invites and messages and stuff, so maybe people show up. Nobody shows up, I'll go ahead and do it anyway. Shout out to Northeastern State University Riverhawks, my alma mater. Was Northeastern State University Redmen, and then political correctness got a hold of us. So there you go. Can't see. So post a comment. Let me know who's on. This thing does not. Oh, it does. I'm the only live viewer. That's great. Hell, not much love going around yet this morning then, I guess. But maybe we'll have some luck here in a minute. What's up, Joe? How's it going, my brother? How come it don't show you on here as being a live viewer? Oh, maybe it does. Now you fell off. Well, I don't like this part where it doesn't show me. It doesn't show me. Hey, Buster, y'all get out of there. Man, I just want to get on here and talk about some genetics and such. Boys, excuse me. Now knock it off. You hear me? Yeah, so we're here and lay down. Be good. Everybody's outside a little bit today, except for the boys, because the girls are outside and they're in heat. So, let's see. And also on YouTube. So it says here Gloria and Hector are watching. And also on YouTube. Hey Hector, how are you, brother? Yeah, now we're starting to get a little action. I'm doing good, man. Just been I did a little pedigree analysis for a guy this morning, and I mean, I wasn't really planning on anything today, and then conversation and stuff. Conversations and stuff with him a little bit, kind of spurred kind of spurred the reason for the live today. So I'm going to talk about well, let me say doing the work for him was partly the reason for doing the live today. I watched a video of Muscletone and Bashar about how Muscletone got started in the beginning, right? And you know, he said some things that got me to thinking, and I'm like, you know, kind of gave me a topic to think about that I think is kind of goes along with my crusade, I guess, if you will, to try to turn the tide of the heavy inbreeding and line breeding in the American bully community. And so what Bashar was talking about, so he was getting criticized early on for crossing bloodlines. Okay. Back then, he said everybody was so bloodline focused, and they were giving him a bunch of shit about crossing bloodlines, right? So what Bashar wasn't doing, I'm gonna take my glasses off right now because there's a glare. If I need to read, I'll pop them back on. So I apologize. But what Bashar was doing was breeding for traits, okay, and not so much blood. You know, he wasn't worried about bloodlines. He was worried about traits and improving those traits, or even making those traits bigger, maybe more pronounced. What's up, Carrie? And so, whether he was aware of the genetic philosophy behind what he was doing or not, that I don't know. But it was interesting to listen to him, you know, talk. And of course, you know, Muscletone is known for very wide, very heavy, big-headed dogs now. Okay, but it wasn't always that way. How did he, you know, how did he get there? How did he get to be the quote unquote king of extreme? Okay, well, he did that by searching for those traits that he wanted to add to his program, irrespective of the bloodline that the trait was residing in. And so, one of the things that I talk about a lot when I talk to clients when we're doing coefficient of inbreeding analysis and things like that is that, you know, COI is not just the answer to a single purpose. You know, breeding involves a lot of different things, right? So really the COI analysis in a lot of respects is just to keep you out of trouble. So try to remember this when trying to build and improve stock, whatever it is. Okay, whether it's flowers, cows, you know, any kind of livestock type thing. Genetic variation is your friend. Okay, but obviously with breeding dogs, you want to maintain or improve traits that you're looking for, right? And so what Bashar did was he went looking for those traits. Okay, and Bashar early on bred traits until he got the traits in his program that he wanted. You know, whether that was the big heads, whether that was more muscle. Um, you know, I heard him talk about, you know, he got the movement locked down, and you know, then he did this and he did this, and so what Bashar was doing again was Bashar was building, you know, his yard based on traits and not genetic inbreeding. Okay, now once you acquire the traits that you're looking for, right, in your yard, then you can do some line breeding to help fix those traits in your yard. And when I say line breeding, I'm not talking about going ridiculously high. I'm talking about moderate line breeding while still keeping an eye on uh, those phenotypical traits. Aaron time. All right, Carrie. Take care. Thanks for popping in. Um, so we want to get into the science a little bit. So if you maybe think that I'm talking crazy junk or whatever, it's actually called additive genetic variation. Okay. And so talks about breeding to subpopulations of, so they did this like with greyhounds, racing dogs, um, did it with cows back in the 40s. I think it was, you know, cows went from yielding like, I think it was 2000. Um, let's see. That's not where I want to be. Try to get back here and remember where the cows. Yeah, 2,000 kilograms per year at the beginning of the 1900s. And then in the 1940s, milk production soared. And by 2000, by the year 2000, averaged more than 8,000 kilograms of milk per year. So a fourfold increase in milk production over a period of about 50 years. All right. So what's up, boss man? Denzel. So how did they do that? Right. So they did that through additive genetics um, and additive genetic variation. So without getting without getting too technical, when it talks about breeding to subpopulations, right? So there's a tendency to breed the best to the best to the best to the best to the best, right? So that's where this you know, popular sire phenomenon comes along. Dog wins nationals, and then everybody wants to breed to that dog because that dog won nationals. Um, Hopefully, they're breeding to that dog because the dog fits the program. Not much, Denzel. I'm just trying to lay down some genetic stuff here, brother. Um, so when that happens, that popular sire syndrome, right? What happens is whenever I breeds that, and we can see that today by DAX. How many pedigrees that you see today have DAX in them? I mean, you can't throw a rock and not get a pedigree that's got DAX in it, and that's just as prevalent, um, you know, with his offspring and so on. And that's fine to a certain point, but so much of it is being bred way too much. We're narrowing the genetic population of our breed and reducing opportunities for great improvements within the breed with the reduction of that genetic variation. Okay. So when we talk about breeding to uh, subpopulation, right? What we're talking about a little bit more, right, is not so much line breeding closely, right, but more breeding back to that family, all right, of dogs, and breeding to some of the best in that family, but not to, um, you know, the best of the best type deal, if you will. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let's say, for instance, I'm a big fan of Waffle House, right? So, okay. One of the things that I'm planning on doing, right, is I bred my female to a Waffle House son. Um, and then I have now females out here that have the genetics of Waffle House son, along with the genetics from the female. And then what I plan on doing is taking my one or two of those females at some point back to another Waffle House son, possibly, or maybe even grandson that has the phenotype that I desire, but so when I say phenotype, I'm talking about the traits, the expression of the traits, right? I find that dog, and then, I'm looking at breeding traits, and at the same time, I'm also keeping an eye on my inbreeding coefficient. Hi, Jamie. Apologize. I don't know how that's pronounced, LVI. So I apologize, but thank you for watching. Not sure how to pronounce that name. So, or you do that, or you go and you say, okay, well, Waffle House was, and now I can't remember. Warren G's son. I don't remember Waffle House's mom. Okay, but what you can do, right, is you go back a generation, find dogs out of there. So it's more of breeding to a family. Say like you have a gaudy dog, right? And what you do is you go back and you what, like I talked about with that gentleman today, you go back and you find you a female that is heavy with gaudy line, but not necessarily not necessarily line bred to the dog that you're using. So what you do is you are capitalizing on, while breeding for traits that are that are representative in that family. What you're doing is you're adding fresh genetics for those traits. And so the additive variation is that when you breed dogs of similar phenotype, where the uh, the gene is acting upon that trait, this phenomenon of additive genetics. It's like, maybe a way to explain it is, a mom and dad are 6 foot tall, and they end up with a son that's 6'4". Okay, um, that can happen, right? So if we're looking to improve things, we can accomplish that through additive genetics by selecting phenotypes with different genetic variation, so different genetics, and then combining those. Because when a dog has, let's say, um, great rear hock angulation. Okay, let's say great angulation. So whatever genetic influence there is, or that is setting that trait in that dog. All right, so when you select another dog with the same genetic expression, right, you're combining the same genes, if you will, on that loci on the chromosome. These genes are on your chromosomes, right? And traits are expressed based on the genes and how the genes are being affected. So when you breed like traits, you're breeding the same genes, even though it may not be from the same bloodline, right? So a gene is a gene is a gene. So keep that in mind. doesn't have to come from the same bloodline. All right. And so this additive effect can have a, when we talk about outcrossing and how that brings hybrid vigor into your program, you get a boost, whether that's in reproductive fertility, whether that's an increase in size, whether that's improvement in movement, but you get new. What's up, Orlando? You get new things, right? Things kind of like, wow, where'd that come from? Well, it comes from an influx in new genetic material and the additive genetic process of doing that. And so I got some notes here. So what I'm trying what I'm trying to get at is that you can achieve the same results and improving your program by seeking out um, similar phenotypes. Okay. So phenotype breeding versus strictly genetic breeding. Am I saying get away from genetic breeding? No, because you do improve your chances of having that phenotype expressed when you do some line breeding. Okay. For those traits. But it's so important, regardless of what bloodlines you're using, to select dogs that have the traits that you're looking for, regardless of the bloodlines, regardless of the inbreeding coefficient. Okay. What's up, Patrick? So, and it's going to benefit your program because your dogs are going to be healthier. They're going to, because of the variation in the genetics. We have to have genetic variation in our dogs to protect our population. Otherwise, at some point, the breed collapses. Okay. So, dealing with population genetics and maintaining the American bully and its look and its future, genetic variation has got to be a big part of what we are doing. And that's why it's so important to understand your inbreeding coefficients. Okay. Um, so that's what muscle tone, in my opinion, that's, obviously not being there and not knowing his mind, but from what his, hi, Cynthia, from what I caught from his video is that's what he was doing. He was going and he was finding those traits in other dogs that he wanted in his yard, irrespective of what those bloodlines were. And he got criticized a lot for it because they were so focused on bloodlines back then. And so it's important to bring in, fresh genetics constantly into your program to maintain your health and to improve the overall function of your dogs by seeking out those traits that you need. Right now, the litter may come out, and not every dog is going to possess those traits, and that's fine. I mean, you can have a heavy line breeding and still not have every dog come out with all those traits, because when the egg and the sperm meet and they do the recombinant thing, it is a variable process. Okay. So Mother Nature is funny about that. We don't always get what we want, but traits on the chromosome at the gene level, regardless of the bloodline, is going to be fixed on that strand of DNA. It's there. Okay. So when you breed like traits, you're still breeding like traits at the exact same location on the chromosome. Okay. So now, so the chances of that being expressed or inherited, uh, is pretty good. So We don't have to inbreed and line breed heavily in order to achieve the same results. And then what you do is the puppies from that litter, right, that have the traits, that retain the traits that you were breeding for, you retain those, and then you keep up the process, right? Now, so I'm talking more about building a yard, of quality dogs, and not so much just producing a dog and a making money thing, right? What's up, Josh? Thanks for getting on, brother. Appreciate it. So I guess the long and short of it is that genetic variation is your friend, okay, but you have to select for the desired traits. Um, Science tells us that inbreeding coefficients of 5% to zero is desirable, with a maximum of 10%. But 10%, they say, is what they call the extinction vortex. Above that, that's dangerous. You maintain that high, right? Um, I advocate for line breeding at some point to increase the chance of fixing those traits. Okay. But after you do that and then you select the best of those traits, then go back to breeding dogs with similar traits but of different blood. Um, you're going to know. I honestly feel like you're just going to notice an improvement in your stock. Um, you know, improvement. You know, in all phases of the phenotype of the dog, right? And so you have, but you have to search. You have to search for those dogs. Going to take you some time sometimes to find the right dog. That's okay. Breeding is not supposed to be I'll just go pick this one and then I'll do it and everything will be fine. It takes research. It takes time, right? It takes analysis. Each breeding that you do and you sit down, you should be planning for it. You should begin with the end in mind. What do I want to get out of it? How am I going to get it? How am I going to achieve that? Right. Um, but matching phenotypes is critical in my opinion. What's up, Tom? Tommy, I'm going to send you an invite here, brother. Tommy, I sent you an invite. If you want to come on and chime in on this and kind of liven up the conversation. So let me know if you get that link. I sent it to you in Messenger. So I'll wait on Tommy to come on here. Tommy, the real dog man Douglas. Tommy's a lot more lively than I am. Hope everybody's staying warm. Today it finally warmed up a little bit. Snow's melting just a tad. Tommy the real man, dog man Douglas. Did you get the invite, brother? Sorry, guys. I'm waiting on Tommy. Waiting on Tommy to come on. Where are you, Tommy? Where are you, Tommy? So don't let some of the verbiage throw you, though. You know, additive genetic variation, for instance. I mean, it's kind of a mouthful, right? But all it is breeding for traits from different bloodlines, right? With genetic variation, but to fix those traits, add those traits to your program. Tommy, let me know if you got that invite, brother. If anybody has any comments, please comment. I'm happy to engage in conversation about the topic. So don't feel free to chime in. Where are you at? Where are you at, Tommy? Let's try again. All right. I sent it to you again, Tommy. Let me know if you got it or not. Well. So that's one of the reasons, like, for instance, I don't know. Let's see. This is still kind of new uh, to me about adding things. What's up, GL? Let's see. See if I can present slide. I have no slides. I go to my computer. Hang on, man. I'm trying to do some stuff. I'm going to upload a file. Let's see. Nope. No. Why would that just be? Why would we not have pictures? Camera roll. What's up, Mr. Shote? Maggie pigs. I don't know what's going on here. Why I can't see the pictures that I want to see. Nothing. Wait a minute. Custom files. All files. There we go. Try this. There we go. Found it. So bear with me, please. So trying to find Trying to find a banner here. Trying to find a breeding banner. So I apologize, guys. This is using this StreamYard here is a little bit, not a little bit. It is a new thing for me. So I'm not a I'm not an expert StreamYarder just yet, but we will. Here we go. All right. Well, shit. Invalid file type, it says. So I thought I'd be able to share that. What's up, Cheyenne? Paco, what's up? So I got more viewers on here now. Maybe I'll go back over some of the stuff that I was talking about while I wait on Tommy. And again, Tommy, if you're getting the invite to come on, Tommy, let me know. So the title of this was, how did Muscletone do it? Again, I go back to, I was watching a video that Bashar did recently, I think yesterday, was talking about the beginning of Muscletone bullies. And, what he did, really, whether he was aware of the genetic process and things like that or not, I don't know, can't speak to that. But what Bashar did, and you can go look at the video and listen to him talk about it, is that he went looking for traits that he wanted on his yard, right? Regardless of the bloodlines that the traits came from. And then he worked on concentrating and duplicating those traits in his yard until he got the traits that he wanted. Okay. So he caught a lot of flack for that back in the day, because I guess the community was real fixed on bloodlines. And, he did what he did. Now, Bashar has the type of dog that he has because he searched for those traits and he bred for those traits and he compounded those traits to build his yard. Okay. So the additive genetics process is really, to make it simple, is breeding for traits regardless of the bloodlines. Okay. In the bully breed, there's a significant amount of very intense line breeding and inbreeding going on to, again, certain communities of popular dogs. And while I understand it, I get it, understand that that's very dangerous in the long term for the health and viability of the American bully. Okay. And so keeping an eye on your inbreeding coefficients and for the lack of a better way to express it, outcrossing, right? But again, making sure that your phenotypes, and the traits that you're looking for, right, are present in the mating that you plan on doing. Those traits are expressed based on the effect of the gene on the chromosome. And when you breed like traits, they are the same gene in the same location on the chromosome. Okay. And so they're there. Now, the question is, well, will that be inherited? Yeah, it can be a crapshoot. Of course, you can improve your chances of that being inherited through line breeding and through inbreeding. The problem with heavy line breeding, the problem with inbreeding, is inbreeding depression. It's the opposite of hybrid, what they call hybrid vigor. You go the other way. Your litters get smaller, your dogs get smaller, your dogs get more unhealthy. Um, there's just all kinds of problems that are associated with um, negative recessive traits that are inherited through intense line breeding and inbreeding. So if you're not paying attention to your inbreeding coefficients and what's being inherited, then you can get into a lot of trouble in the long term, and it'll really affect your yard, and you'll find yourself having to do what I'm talking about anyway, which is outcrossing to bring in new genetics to hopefully fix the things that you have set into your yard. Problem with that, and that's what you have to do. But if you've inbred so much and fixed those traits so intensely, it's going to be a long selective process to pull out those dogs later that don't have those negative traits, right? And then continue on. So instead of having to fight that battle, you know, me personally, I recommend maintaining lower inbreeding coefficients, keeping the genetic pool of your bloodlines variable, while at the same time breeding for the traits that you want. Lots of dogs out there have the traits that you're looking for. They just have different bloodlines. That's okay, right? That's how Bashar built his yard. What's up, Thomas? So, um, so that's really it. I mean, in a nutshell, um, it's breeding for traits while at the same time keeping an eye on inbreeding coefficients. That's all. That's all I'm talking about today. So, I guess Tommy, whatever reason, what's up, Thomas? For whatever reason, whether he didn't get the invite or he got busy or whatever, is not going to make it on. But I guess that's the way things go. But anyway, I hope that you can take a little bit of what I talked about today and apply it in your program. Understand, I'm doing the same things. I give you, for instance, uh, I'm gonna get on here. You guys will still be able to see me, but I need to go to uh, a different place on my computer. But I talk about this breeding um, a fair amount because it is exactly what I'm talking about. So let's see. What's up, Anthony? Excuse me, it's taking a minute here. So put on my glasses, so pardon the reflection. So I'm taking Maggie. Most of you guys are that are familiar with me are familiar with Maggie. Okay. So Maggie's going to be bred to a dog named Foking Sriracha, who is a Grim son out of a Rocco daughter. Okay. So Sriracha and Juggernaut, who happened to be his littermate brother, have an inbreeding coefficient of 27.73. Okay. So that's up there. Maggie's inbreeding coefficient's 5.68. She has a single line that goes back to Rocco. Let's see, one, two, three, in the fourth generation. Thanks, Anthony. So it's back there, right? So she has a inbreeding coefficient of 5.68. Sriracha is 27.73. I have to figure out how to display pictures um, on this. Let's see, maybe share screen. Let's see. Maybe I can do this. Apologize, guys. Let's see if it pops up for you guys to. All right, so there it is, right? So you guys will be able to see here that we've got, and this is also the work that I do for people, but that we've got Foking Sriracha here at 27.73, Maggie here at 5.68, and up here we have an inbreeding coefficient now of 9.89. All right, so the resultant offspring from this litter will have an inbreeding coefficient of just below 10. But what we did was um, brought Sriracha's inbreeding coefficient down from 27 and Maggie's up a little bit from 5 and got to where I feel like is a super happy medium. But while at the same time, you'll notice that her pedigree is fairly dissimilar, except for the Rocco. Now she has Dax and but also Bistro and Paco when we go back. So she's got some legacy blood in there as well. And so let's see. I'm going to stop sharing that and I'll show you another file here from this. So when I talk about subpopulation breeding, right? So let's see. Got to get back on here. Got to go present, share screen. All right. So what I'm going to be sharing with you guys now is the ancestor analysis for what I do is I model what's called a trial mating, just what's going to happen when we do the sire and the female together, right? What are we going to get? So you can look through here and you can see, okay, so this breeding, we're going to have 3 times. We're going to have 3 times Rocco, 2 times on the sire side, 1 time on the dam side. We're going to have 24 times Dax, and then 38 times Gotti Lines Romeo, 23 times Gotti Lines Barbie, 71 times Notorious Juan Gotti, and so on, right? So the reason why I mentioned that, and you can, like I said, this is the ancestor analysis for any trial mating that I do here. You can see here that this analysis used 2,000 dogs and 10 generations. Okay. So if I wanted to take, let's say that I took a, let's, am I still working here? All right, I'm back. So let's say now I have a stud dog off of that breeding that's got almost a 10% inbreeding coefficient. I don't really want to go back to that and line breed him necessarily to the Rocco, Grim, or Juggernaut offspring, things like that. But what I could do and what I probably should do is seek out a dog with strong, what's up, John? A dog with strong Gotti line blood influence, right? But from a different strain of Gotti line with the same phenotype that I'm looking for. One of the reasons why I chose Sriracha, for instance, over Juggernaut was the phenotypes of the 2 dogs. Sriracha fit Maggie's phenotype better and offered the improvement in the rear end, the angulation, the width of the stifle that I'm looking to improve. Maggie is very, very nice, but she could use a little bit better angulation. Sriracha brings that to the table. So what I did was I sought out a dog that had the phenotype, or I selected a dog that had the phenotype that I felt like would work with my female. So I went to a dog also that has a strong inbreeding coefficient that improves the chances that those traits would be inherited, while at the same time decreasing or actually increasing the genetic variability within the breeding that I'm doing from the parentage that's being used. Okay. So, um, but then when I go next after that, so, and I know I'm rambling a little bit here, so I'm sorry about that, but I feel like when you're putting breedings and everything together, not be thinking about just that breeding, but what are you going to do next with what you just did? What's your plan the following step, right? Don't just do a breeding. You need to have, what am I doing the next generation, and maybe even three moves ahead, doing a breeding to set up a breeding that sets up a breeding, right? If you're building a yard, if you're building something long term, if you're trying to build something of quality, I feel like these are the steps that you need to take, right? Begin with the end in mind, however you want to do it. But it's so important when you're doing a breeding to select the traits that you're looking for, irrespective of the bloodlines. You can achieve the same results. They may not be as consistent, but if you're trying to incorporate a particular trait into your yard and keep the inbreeding coefficient down, then that's what you do. You just go and you select for those traits, right? Regardless of what the bloodlines are. And so, anyway, so that, I mean, that's how Bashar started out. That's how Bashar built his yard. How that coffee's hot. So, so anyway, I mean, that's kind of the really the end of today's little live. If anybody's got any questions, please throw them out there. I'm happy to sit here and answer a few questions. I'm only going to let this go an hour, so I got 7 minutes. If you guys want to have, if you guys want to have a little Q&A or something like that, you know. But after seeing the Bashar's video this morning, and then helping out the client that I did this morning, I was like, you know, that's a really good topic to talk about today. Um, Again, I do this because I'm really concerned about the narrowing of the genetic variability in the American bully population. I see it all the time. Um, so it's just my effort to try to educate people that may not understand what they're doing and the negative repercussions of what they're doing. I understand that they want to breed to popular dogs. I get that. Well known dogs, I get that. Right. But here's the deal, there's no point in breeding dogs that are going to fall apart, that aren't going to survive, you know, that don't reproduce well. All right. Like Tommy the dog man Douglas likes to say, she got 8 titties. Why are you happy with 4 puppies? 3 puppies, a singleton. You should be worried about, why did you only get 1 puppy? Why did you only get 2 puppies? Right? If she's got 8 titties, right? So there's something there to think about. So example maybe of that. Maggie is very small, 13 inches tall, right? low inbreeding coefficient. um, in fact, let me hop on here and I'll uh, tell you what it was. Tattletale chicken and waffles. Where is chicken and well, must have deleted it. I'll do it for you guys right quick. Okay. So I bred Maggie to an I'll call it legacy blood, old school dog, Grand Champion chicken and waffles. His inbreeding coefficient was 6.63. Maggie's was 5.68. The inbreeding coefficient of the puppies was 3.21. All right. So relatively low. Um, Maggie had 8 puppies. Matter of fact, when we were at the vet doing the check, she had looked like 2 sacks that she was absorbing. So it looked like it started out that 10 eggs got fertilized. There were 10 sacks. Well, guys, hush. We only ended up with 8 puppies. So did that low inbreeding coefficient have anything to do with the fact that we had a larger litter, even with a much smaller dog? Did that significant genetic variation, did that play a role in ensuring that we had a larger litter? The science says, yeah. Now, if you have, if you have the same situation and say you've bred her twice and you're still getting smaller litters, I wouldn't breed her for the 3rd time. There's obviously something genetically, there's a genetic or a reproductive issue going on with your female. I would not repeat the breeding for a 3rd time. So Patrick wants to know, what do you project out of a breeding where both parents have a higher COI but offer an outcross for diversity? Okay. So when we do, when we do have a high COI dog, all right, that we want to do an outcross with, and you want to improve your chances of uh, getting the traits that you want, then I always recommend going out to a dog that has a higher COI with a well structured pedigree. But at the same time, you're going to increase the genetic diversity. Those 2 dogs may have high COIs of their own, but if their bloodlines are completely dissimilar, what you're doing is you're bringing in a whole new influx of genetic material. Don't know what the COI would be without, without doing it. Um, Golly, I can't even think of. Do you happen to have, well, I don't, it had to be somebody that I have already in the database for me to do it quickly. But, you know, Patrick, that's what you want to do. Um, Again, when I talk about these things, it's really dependent upon also what you want to accomplish. If you want your puppies to more resemble your female more closely because of her qualities, then you find a dog with a lower COI, but one that has the same traits that she does still, right? And then you breed her to that dog, you get the new genetic material, right? But she's most likely dominating the breeding. And so, but combining 2 dogs with higher COIs, but of completely, and I mean completely different bloodlines, is a good solid idea, right? Because you've got, if you like the traits, right, the phenotypes are similar for both dogs, okay, the chances of those traits being inherited while at the same time bringing in new genetics is probably the best of both worlds. So, uh, from what I understand about, breeding strategy is something that I would highly recommend. So hopefully that answers your question. Um, but so yeah. Uh, so when you're looking at doing those subpopulations and things like that, what you're doing is you're getting into breeding families. Whether that family might be, if the family's Dax, if the family's Gotti, you can have Gotti without Dax. There's dogs out there that have Gotti but no Dax, right? But you're still getting similar genetics, which allow for more consistency because those traits are where they are on the chromosomes, right? On the genes are there on the chromosomes that affect the traits that allow those particular traits to be expressed. And so you increase your chances of, having good consistency. So if there's not any more questions, I'm going to get off here. I got things to do. I got a yard to clean. I got groceries to buy, laundry to do. I got things, single man things, well, not single, but living alone things that I have to accomplish today. And so for all of you that tuned in, I appreciate it. If there's anything that I can do to help you in your, in your breeding goals and your, selections, whatever, don't hesitate to reach out. Happy to help when I can. And I appreciate you guys tuning in today. Y'all have a great rest of your day.